Lacey, Mark, a bunch of people joining us here. Howard, Tiana, as always. We've got a few people coming on, and we are about to go live on the interwebs. So super excited to have you here, we're live, which is cool. All right, so today I'm just talking about generating high six-figure deals, what it's like to engage customers, who's paying that sort of money. Some of the people that I work with are charging their clients hundreds of thousands of dollars. We got one of our consulting champions right now has a $700,000 Facebook ad management deal that took about 6 weeks to close. We've got somebody who just collected a $250,000 payment up front from a client for developing Facebook ads and lead management. We've got another person that generated a $108,000 deposit up front from an insurance company. That was Cameron. We've got Simon, $59,000 up front for a CRM development project. We've got Headley, who sells websites at 35 to 50 grand, selling pre-selling strategy for 5 grand. So there are a lot of people in our world that where they're dealing with clients, where they're investing a significant amount of money. So this training that I'm doing today is focused around the idea of engaging clients who are willing to pay a lot more. And if you build a mix of these types of customers into your business, apart from the fact that you've got more cash flow, more revenue, which is great, but they tend to attract other clients or like-minded clients at that level as well. Working with these big clients, there's no difference to selling a big client as it does to sell somebody at the cheaper end of the scale. It's pretty much the same process. However, the numbers are a little bit bigger, right? So that becomes part of that, I guess, that consideration, right? What happens when you're dealing with people who have bigger budgets and what are their expectations in terms of what you deliver? And this kind of centers around you, right? It kind of centers around you, because I often ask people, say, hey, John, look, I don't want to work with low-end clients. I want to work with high-end clients. And then my question is, what is your big offer? What is the big deal offer that you make to the marketplace, right? So give me the offer. What is it? How much do you charge for your big offer? And they say, oh, my offer is like 2 grand a month, 3 grand a month, right? And how long does a client stay? Oh, generally about 4 months. So you're actually offering a $12,000 deal, or you're actually offering a $6,000 deal, right? So that's the first question. You want to work with clients that are paying you 50, 100, 200, $500,000 in services. What is your offer that is worth that? Right, that's the first question you need to answer. The second part of the mindset of this is that if you don't have the big offer to offer, then nobody can buy that. Like, if you don't actually craft an offer that is big and make that offer to the market, they cannot buy the offer. I actually coach a person right now where their offer to entrepreneurs, it's a $250,000 deal. Right? And they get paid up front. They get paid up front, $250,000 cash up front. And that's the only offer they make. And they're running a $7.5 million agency, which means they're not working with lots of clients, right? But their deal is a $250,000. That's their deal. And you pay everything up front. She doesn't deal with clients who cannot pay her up front for 250 grand, right? Which is incredible, right? But here's the funny thing is, until she created that offer, people couldn't buy it. When they started to offer the high ticket, then they started to buy it. They started to take it into consideration. So the first question I often ask people, and this is the question you want to ask yourself, but if I want to get paid $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, well, what is my offer to get paid that money? What is the offer that I'm making to get paid that money, right? Because if you don't have an offer at a high price, nobody can buy it from you. If they can't buy it from you, then you have no chance in the world of ever nailing or landing a client that's going to give you 5 figures or 6 figures, because you don't offer it to them. That should be the biggest mind shift for everybody here. Take what you do right now, put some zeros on it, right? Put 5 figures on that offer, right? And break down what you're going to do for those 5 figures. break down what the client's outcomes, the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. What's the best and what's the worst case scenario, right? If they invest those 5 figures, if the worst case scenario is still a profitable outcome, then you can make that offer, right? You've got the confidence to make that offer. But it all starts, number one, it starts with the mindset of, if you want to look at big clients, and by the way, right now, so if I look at companies like Apple, Amazon's hiring Facebook ad people, independent contractors to do Facebook ad campaigns for Amazon. Are you crazy? Why would Amazon want to do that, right? Because they know that there are people in the market with skills that they want to bring into their teams, right, to help them with their campaigns. Can you imagine if you had Amazon as a Facebook ad client, right? How much leverage that would give in the marketplace, right? All the big companies, the Fortune 500 companies right now that have been working with the traditional agencies like WPP, Nailers, McCann's, working with guys like Ogilvy's, right? Those people are now looking in the digital space because they realize that they need to get the digital act together, right? They need to get the digital act together. So understand that the market, there's plenty of people spending, right? I know this from the people that I work with. The clients that they're generating are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars just for management, just for strategy, not for execution, not for total outcome, right? Solving key problems. So number one, whatever you're offering in the market, how much do you charge for it right now? And would you, if you 5x the price, right? 5x your price, and you offer that to the market, is there a possibility that somebody would take it? Now, I would have to say the answer would be yes. There's a couple of caveats that need to occur to make that a reality, right? But I'm going to give you an example of how much money people are spending on management services. And these are people that I know, and some of these people I work with, right? So in the insurance space, $150,000 for SEO management for 6 months. 150 grand for 6 months worth of SEO in the insurance market, right? In SaaS companies, the average investment in marketing services for digital marketing services in SaaS companies stems from about 100,000 up to $500,000 plus in digital marketing services. 100 grand to $500,000 plus in digital marketing services, right? They're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars already internally, hiring people to do certain things online for them, and externally they know they're paying a lot more in the market, right? But every industry, if you look at every player in the market, they are investing. They have people who are significantly looking for people who are supplying services like yours to help them to solve problems, to rebrand, to relaunch, to open up into e-commerce sections, to re-engage their customers, to communicate, to market differently to what they've traditionally been doing, right? So number one, in terms of you generating more revenue for yourself, you've got to charge more for your services. So if you, whatever your current price point is that you have, that is, and I'm making a joke here, whatever your current price point, that's the poverty pack. That's your poverty pack, right? Your poverty pack, because I know 95% of the time, when I talk to people, I know that they are undercharging for what they do. So right now, whatever price point you have, that is your poverty pack. And what you want to do, if you want to charge much higher prices, is you've got to look at your offering and your pricing and what you're doing for that money. And you also got to take into consideration what you're not doing for that money. What you're doing for the money, but not charging for the money. What you're doing for the money and not charging for the money, right? So things like setup. A lot of people I talk to when I say, do you have a setup fee? And they go, no. They just pay their first month's management fee and let them off. I said, yeah, but you have to set them up, don't you? So yeah, so there should be a setup fee. If you're not charging a setup fee, that is one area where you have revenue opportunities, right? We charge an $8,000 setup fee for a Facebook ad campaign. 8 grand. Every client, $8,000, right? $8,000 and the first month's management fee is what we ask for. So that's what's that? $14,000 that you have to pay us up front to get started, right? So have a setup fee. If you don't have a setup fee, have a setup fee. Strategy, right? Most people give away strategy for free. The strategy part is thinking through, crafting the offer, creating the copy, doing the creative, getting the optimization up, setting up those accounts, optimizing a automation, building a sales funnel. That's part of strategy. And most people give that away for free. They don't actually think that they can get paid for it. But people pay for strategy. In fact, they'll pay more for thinking than for the action taking. They'll pay more for your ideas, right, than for you implementing stuff, right? So most people don't charge for strategy. The minimum you want to charge, if you're going to do a Facebook ad campaign, for example, I've just hired a company to do strategy for me. I'm paying them $15,000 for thinking, for their thinking around crafting a campaign and offer that I'm looking to run out in the marketplace. And they're setting budgets for me and they're setting expectations. But I'm paying $15,000 just for chit chat, right? And I'm paying that in advance. I'm paying that in advance, not in arrears. They're not billing me. It's like, you want to get going, 15 grand down, let's get started, right? So that's just for chit chat, right? Then the actual implementation is probably going to end up costing about $50,000 to $100,000 from there, right? And then that's not even ad spend, by the way. I haven't even got to the marketing budget. The marketing budget is a scaling budget that starts at $10,000 and will scale to $100,000 a month, right? So what I've agreed to in this process is something that's going to be basically $1.2 million with a Facebook strategy, with a Facebook agency that specializes in Facebook. I'm committing to a $1.2 million investment, right, with a company that is having an articulation and a logical process to go through to make that a reality, or make the outcomes a reality that they deliver to the market, right? People are willing to pay that. People are willing to invest and pay that. That sounds strange. You think, I know what I'm doing. I do. But I also hire people who are really, really smart, right? Who can do things faster, better, and a little bit different than what I can, and leverage my opportunity. So I would rather, for me, the question is who, not how, right? I know how, I just want the who. So I'm willing to pay for the best possible who, because I find if you're making the best possible investment, you've got a pretty good chance of getting a result or a better result. And that's the other thing that I want to talk about, getting paid or working with clients at high prices. When you raise your prices to the level of the true value that the market perceives, then you're going to lift your confidence up as well. You start to own your price, right? If you can't buy what you sell, any training that I give you today is going to be worthless to you, because you're not going to go out there and offer it and make an implementation. So I'll give you an example. There's a guy called Mark that I worked with. He would charge $2,500 to do a strategy session, $2,500, which is nice, $2,500. But the amount of work that goes into what he provided for his clients was pretty significant. And the outcomes and the strategy session led to a bigger engagement. But I said, dude, you're providing so much value, like incredible amount of value. Could you charge, right, 15 grand, 12 and a half to 15 grand for the same thing, right? He says, oh, that's a bit expensive. I said, yes, it is to you, but not to your client, right? So first of all, you need to own it. Now, he didn't go the whole hog to 15 grand with me. He said, oh, look, I'll charge 12,500. So straight away, it's like, let's just, it's the lesser figure from the 15 grand. So straight away, he killed his confidence, right? Hey, look, I'm willing to try this, but I'll offer it at 12,500, not 15,000, like you're recommending I do, right? So I said, great. So now make the offer. So go through the same sales process you go through. Look at the plot. You're dealing with a certain type of client, and let's go and make the offer to the person. Here's what happened. The person said yes immediately, like so quick. Right? And the reason why they said yes so quickly, because they thought it was freaking amazing value at $12,500. Even at 15 grand, it was amazing value. I knew at 15 grand it was amazing value. But the client saw the value in the process that they just didn't think twice about it and said, yeah. So all of a sudden, a $2,500 strategy session that they were charging $2.5 grand for, right? He's charging 12.5 grand. He's actually put his price up to 15 grand, right? For the same thing. And guess what? More and more people are saying yes. And the quality of the clients getting better and better and better because they're committed. They're committed financially to the next step, right? If I look at Headley, one of the people that we work with in their agency, they used to give away a lot of free stuff. They used to do free strategies and all that sort of stuff a lot of time. And they used to sell websites at like $5 grand and $6 grand. And that was a problem, right? Because there was no real margin in a website at $5,000 and $6,000. right? So I said, great, well, from now on, you don't give away your time for free, right? You're building a core marketing portal and function for your clients. You should charge for that. And so he started charging $5,000 to have that conversation. Now, this is what used to happen. Clients used to say, or prospects used to say, hey, Headley, why are you charging us $5,000 for strategy when we go talk to the other marketing agents who do the web development? They're not charging us anything. They're doing it for free, right? And he says, well, what are they selling, right? Are they selling a functional process, an outcome, and a deliverable? Do they deliver strategy? Because the strategy is the plan for this portal to build and scale your business forevermore online. This is an ever-evolving strategy. It's a cornerstone of your marketing online. So that's why we do strategy first, and then we develop the functionality. So we're making sure that we're attracting clients, engaging, making it easy for them to take steps, building your authority, your branding, your messaging, that structure, right? And the functionality of communication, managing registrations, helping you with an appointment setting process. All that is built into the functionality as part of a strategy. And he said, ask the web agencies that are doing this for free, ask them if they if they provide strategy with their development of your website. And ask them, what does that strategy look like? Ask them if it looks like what we do, then I would highly recommend that you go with them and not pay us $5,000, right? So they would do that. They would go away and they would ask and say, well, you do strategy. Of course we do strategy. Absolutely, we do strategy with everyone. Okay, so what does that look like? And they couldn't articulate what strategy was. All they knew was, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take some content, take your products, we're going to make it look pretty, right? That's not strategy, right? That's not strategy. That's graphic design. Right? Well, that's design, right? So all of a sudden they went, okay, we need to go back, and they would hire Headley at $5,000. And now the websites are no longer 5,000 and 6,000. The websites are now 35,000, 50,000, 60,000 plus, right? 35, 60 plus, right? Per client, right? And then that's just the beginning, because in the back end of that is all the support, the management, the structures. The client turns into over $100,000 plus in the client, right? So sometimes just the value of that positioning up front of your strategy and getting paid for that positions you at a much different level, different high level, right? Yesterday, when I was on the call, when I did the live training on the 7 tactical things, I said, one of the things that I said was that that the market at the top end of the market, right? The top end of of what's going on in the marketplace, there's less competition. There's less people marketing to the bigger players than there are people marketing to the mom and pop shops at the low level. There's way less competition. In fact, in some cases, there's no competition because nobody's actively, proactively engaging. Because the majority of business in our world heavily relies, and this is just how it works, we rely heavily upon referral. Right? We rely heavily, and at the top end, you know, the big agencies at the top end of town, they don't do any proactive marketing at all. They don't even have salespeople, right? They rely on referral business only. So the top of the market is not even being prospected. Nobody's tapping the door and saying, hey, what do you think about this idea? So that means that there's an open blue ocean marketplace for services like you. So number one, just going to do a quick recap here. If you don't offer a high price offer, people can't buy it, right? If you don't value it yourself, if you don't own that price point, nobody's going to buy that from you. That's going to be a challenge that you're going to face. You have to overcome, right? But number one, you have to offer it. If you don't offer it, they can't buy it, right? We've done, the other thing that also occurred, one of the things that I did in one of our agencies, we sat down and we saw clients were hanging around for 3 years. So we had the same customer for 3 years, right? And so we sat there and thought, okay, how many clients have we had for 3 or more years with us, right? And then we had a whole bunch of them. We had about 70 clients that had been with us for 3 or more years. And we sat there and said, okay, well, the lifetime value of these customers over a 3-year period is about $180,000. So why don't we start offering 3-year deals fixed price up front, right? Why don't we start offering our the people we sit down? You've got 2 options, right? You've got the 12-month program, and then at the end of the 12 months, the price goes up and you continue on. Or you can take what some of our clients decide to do, a 3-year option to work with us as a business development project, and we will maintain the fixed price from the beginning. So we're going to keep fixed pricing for you for the next 3 years. Now get this, we have 400 clients in that agency. 15% of those clients, of those 400 clients, 15%, right? That's 60 clients accepted a $180,000 deal. Now, 60 times $180,000, it's a nice chunk of change, right? And some of those clients paid up front. And the only reason they paid up front is because we offered it to them. We offered them a deal to pay up front, so they didn't have to go into a receivable situation. So this is the other thing, is when you're working with bigger clients, they will have a propensity to pay you up front. They will actually spend a lot more money up front. You ask them to pay the bill, they are not going to go into any recurring revenue deal with you. Apple is not going to sign up for a monthly deal with you. They're just going to say, what's it going to cost and how much, and you're going to invoice them for the full amount, right? You're going to offer it all up front. No receivables, no monthly recurring, get cash. A number of champions that I work with, Cameron, Headley, Simon, we've got Patrick, we've got a number of people, Mark, we've got a number of people we work with where their deals are, they get a massive deposit up front, 50%, and then another 25% within phase 2, and another 25% the balance in phase 3. So they're getting all the money up front, right? Collecting receivables. So you can break that up. You can get paid any which way you choose to get paid. You control how people pay you. So one of the key things, the key things I just want to make sure you got clear, craft an offer that is high priced, right? Think about what you provide. Break down what you do. Break down, if you do strategy, then strategy should be a line item that is paid for. If you do setup is a line item that is paid for. If you're doing optimization, that is a line item that is paid for, right? As part of the project, right? If you're doing management, if you're actually assessing analytics, those sorts of things, right? Follow through. If you're looking at automation and support in lead management as part of your lead generation, that becomes a line item. And then you want to see what your line items are, and then you can start to craft packages out of your line items, right? You can start to craft packages. So for example, I'll give you a perfect example of how to do this. Let's say your standard fee is $3,000 a month and the client has to pay you $36,000. Minimum 36 grand, 12-month agreement, business development program, that's your management fee. And all you do for that is manage Facebook ad campaign. That's it. You don't do anything else. No tracking, all you're doing is managing the campaign, managing ad spend, optimizing the campaign, providing a report to the client to let them know how the campaign's going. That's it. $3,000 a month, 36 grand a year, right? Now, to maximize conversions, you want to do things like call recording, right? If you're running lead ads for calls on Facebook, you want to be able to record the calls. So you would add that as a line item, and that would be in package 2. So what we're going to do is, the reason why we want to record every phone call is so that we can actually track your conversions and report back, and you can use it for training purposes to improve your ability to convert the sales from all the leads that we generate. This generally, if we actually can record calls and monitor what's going on, this can create a 20 to 30% bump on conversions, because now we're actually able to measure what's going on, right? So you add that as a line item. So you might charge $5,000 a month for that. So you go from $3,000 to $5,000, right? Then you might say, hey, we need to manage the lead. You've got a sales cycle. So we want to be able to manage the leads in real time. You want the lead to have a response within 5 seconds of opting into anything that you do. You want a text message, an email message, a mobile message, a voice drop to go off in the next hour or so and lead to an automation to set an appointment and a calendar in your client, right? And then you might charge $8,000 or $9,000 a month for that service, right? And then from there, you might say, hey, the drop off. So if they don't show, we can actually put an automation plug in to actually go back, re-nurture, re-indoctrinate, and bring them back into, so you maximize your conversions. And you might take that up to $12,000. Well, now you've got a $144,000 agreement, right? You've got 3 packages, right, that make sense, that provide that they get better and better at providing the outcome and the result. One of the things that I say to people, if you under-resource me, I will guarantee you an average result or a mediocre result. If you resource me correctly, I can guarantee you a great or an outstanding result. You get to choose, right? You want to be cheap, you'll get cheap results. You want to invest correctly, you will get great results, right? Or outstanding results. And most people, like I say, it's a mantra, everybody undercharges. even I have known to undercharge. I haven't even done it recently, right? Still don't learn a lesson. You know, want to add some value, do a good deal, right? Big mistake, ends up costing you ultimately, right? So always look to your pricing first, because if you don't offer it, they can't buy it. So that's what you need to think about. Think about what you're putting in front of a client, what the outcomes are, what is the best case scenario of what you have to deliver and the impact of that. What is the worst case scenario? If the worst case scenario is still an ROI, then you've got a great product. You've got a great offer to make to the market, right? So that's number one, right? So, and by the way, I'm going to show you exactly how to go some big clients today, right? I'm going to show you how to go about doing that. I'm going to give you a really simple strategy to go and get a high level, high investment client today, if you choose to take up the mission to go and get those clients, right? So yesterday I covered 13 strategies on how to get clients immediately. I'd love to know if anybody tried any of that out over the last 24 hours. If you wanted to type in the chat, that would be great. If you actually, you know, if you sent a message, got a yes or response or anything, if you want to put some feedback in, I know if there are a few people who are watching me here today who were here with me yesterday, feel free to chime in. If you actually applied, like yesterday was all about let's go and get clients now, and I gave you 13 ways on how to get clients pretty much immediately. If you applied them, my course they missed yesterday. No feedback yet. Awesome, Mark. Awesome. Okay, so the fact that you're out there, which is great, right? But you want to apply, right? When you want to apply. I went after bigger companies today in between meetings and booked 2 calls from 2 reach outs. Adam, congratulations, man. That's what I call action taking. Went out for bigger companies today in between meetings and booked 2 calls from 2 reach outs. That's awesome. I've begun implementing what you taught yesterday. Awesome. Thank you, Christine. Right. So the thing is, again, we don't want to be action fakers. We want to be action takers, right? So thank you, Courtney. That's okay. If you hop on the Facebook groups, you'll see the live. You'll be able to catch up with all the 13 strategies that I sent out. Lloyd sent out a proposal yesterday for a strategy. That's awesome. Congratulations. Well done. Right. So the thing is you've got to build a plan around this, right? And this is the other thing is I want to give you a level of understanding of expectations of what happens when you actually are going to sell services at a higher prices, right? Because I'm just going to share my screen here for a second. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see my iPad. You can see a blue screen here, lots of dots on them. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see them in front of you. I'm hoping you can. I'm seeing it on my screen. Oh, yes, I am. All right, it's up. Okay, so there are, let's say, for example, if your offer is under $10,000, right? So $9,997, right? If your offer is under 10 grand, right? Your sales cycle will probably could be between 48 hours and probably, I would say, 4 days. So from the time that they engage to a conversation with you to the time you close a deal, their ability to make a decision is pretty short. 10 grand deal, 48 hours, 4 days roughly, right? You know, like let's say if we're worst case scenario, you're looking about a week, right? Now, what happens in that sales cycle? Let's just talk about sales cycle, right? There might have been an opt-in, right? From there, they booked a call, right? From there, you ask some questions, right? Qualify. From there, you sent out a proposal, right? From there, you maybe followed up the proposal, right? Okay, and then from there, you close the deal, right? Yes or no, right? So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. That doesn't happen in one day, right? That doesn't necessarily happen in one day. It might happen over a couple of days, but there is a sales cycle that occurs in the process of your sales. So generally, I find anything under $10,000, you can pretty much close with either on the spot or within 4 days, within that first week, right? Within that first week, right? So if we're talking 20K plus, you're going to have at least 2 to 3 calls to make that happen. 2 to 3 calls, right? You're going to have a qualifying call, right? You're going to have a discovery call, right? And then you're going to have a sales call. Now, between this, right, you're probably looking at 2 weeks to 4 weeks. You're looking at 2 to 4 weeks in the sales cycle to close a deal at $20,000 plus. To close a deal at $20,000 plus, right? 2 to 3 calls, a qualifying call, a discovery call, a sales call, a strategy call, or a delivery, a presentation, demo call, right? 2 weeks to 4 weeks, the time frame of where these calls or where these interactions occur. Think about it. Someone's going to pay you $20,000 plus. You're going to spend $20,000 with somebody. You are not going to make that decision on the spot, right? So what has to happen for them to make that decision, right? And here's the thing, 50,000 to 100K is going to take between 6 weeks and 12 weeks to close, right? $500,000 to $100,000. Someone's going to spend $50,000 to $100,000 with you. It's going to take them, on average, right, especially up this end here, it's going to take them up to 12 weeks. I'm seeing on average 6 to 8 weeks is where the close rate on a $50,000 to $100,000 deal. 6 to 8 weeks from the time of the initial all the way through the sales process, sign the contract, get paid the invoice. You're looking at around 6 weeks, right? You're looking around 6 weeks. Okay, 6 to 12 weeks. Now, the next one is, right, from 100K to 250K plus, right? This is going to take you 6 months to a year, right? 6 months to a year to nail that type of deal, right? Because there's $250,000 at stake. Lots of questions, lots of things need to be taken into consideration. I's need to be dotted, T's need to be crossed, agreements need to be made, right? When somebody's making an assessment on a $250,000 deal, right? The $1.2 million deal that I have agreed to didn't happen in one day. We've had a lot of conversations to get there, right? In fact, if I think about that, we've probably been talking for the last 3 months on this deal, right? And I've just signed off on the first phase, right? Because I'm committing to, a lot of money, right, in that process, right? So understand that it takes time in the cycle. Now, one thing I do know, it takes between 1, 2, 3, 4. It takes 3 to 5 pieces of indoctrination. Right? So what's indoctrination? Videos, documents, calls, presentations, case studies, compliance. If you're working in the health space, HIPAA compliance is really important. So compliance becomes an issue, right? Contracts and agreements. Right? Your team. How do we work together? All of these things, right? 5 pieces, 5 pieces, 3 to 5 pieces, right? 3 to 5 pieces. The more context, the easier it is for them to make a decision to buy. The more context you give them, the easier it is for them to go, yep, I trust you. I know I can trust you. I want to buy from you, right? Clients are not going to give over 5 and 6 figures if they don't get to know you. That's just not going to happen. Anybody tells you otherwise, they are lying to you. They are lying to you if they're telling you otherwise. Because when people are considering 50, 100,000, right? Especially, and so this, I'm going to talk about the size of businesses and how much they pay in just a moment, right? So what their budgets are, right? So we need to build relationship. We need to build relationship. How do you indoctrinate? What's your brand? What's your message? How do they get to know you? What are you putting in front of them, right? What communication pieces? What questions are you answering? What are the frequently asked questions that you get that you need to educate them? What is the philosophy of what you do that you put in front of them, right? What is your view of the world in how you help what you do? These are all things that you want to build as part of your brand, as part of your messaging. Because the higher you go, the more questions they're going to ask, right? The more they take a look at you. They're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. They're going to look at your website, right? They look at the name of your company, right? A company is not going to hire butterfly marketing. Or I had one person that I worked with, we changed their name of their company. They had Kickoff Biz Marketing, Kickoff Biz Marketing. Well, a company that's already established is not going to go to a marketing agency that's named Kickoff Biz because they're not kicking off. They're established, right? So even what you call yourself is really important, right? The branding that you have, how you identify yourself is important. There was a person that I worked with who had a really weird name. They had a flower as a name. I think it was called Jabberkai. They had a company and they named it after a Hawaiian flower, right? And she struggled to get corporate clients. She struggled to get corporate clients, but she was in the corporate world. She came from the corporate world, but she struggled. She knew the corporate market really well, right? And I said, one of the reasons why you're struggling is your brand positioning, what you look like to your clients who want to spend $250,000 or more on SEO, right? You're this company, this little brand, this little flower, right? But you're dealing with major brand retailers, major banking, financial corporations, major retail groups. They are not going to hire a company that's called Jabberkai, right? So she changed her name to the BCG Group, and she gave it a look that looked like a larger company. And lo and behold, doors open just by the sheer nature of changing the name of the company and changing the way the company looked to reflect the type of work that they delivered to the market. That changed everything, the branding, right? So think about it, right? Some people, I've got companies that, like, they've got names like Killer Marketing, Mighty Mouse Marketing. I'd love to hire Mighty Mouse Marketing to do my marketing for me. I'd love to give Mighty Mouse Marketing hundreds of thousands of dollars to do marketing for me, right? Mighty Mouse, right? So it doesn't make sense. It's like almost like child's play. So you need to think a little bit of your branding, what you're doing, and even the words that you use are really important in the way that you brand. So how you look, how you indoctrinate is going to be key. And some key indoctrination pieces you need to have is your understanding of the top 5 problems that the market has. This is the problem. If the problem continues going on, this is what the consequences are. The idea is to flip the problem into the solution or the result or the outcome you're looking for, right? So from here, we want to go from the problem over here to the promise of the delivery of the want. And in between that, we have a framework. So we need to articulate the problem. This is our framework to solve that problem. And here's what happens when we implement our framework. People need to have a context and understanding. So 5 questions. What are the 5 biggest problems your market has? You need to know them, right? You need to provide your philosophy, your ideal, your strategy as a company, right? You need to provide that sort of information a little bit. If you have case studies, or if you don't have case studies, walk through or reverse engineer a successful outcome, right? If you do have case studies, highlight them. Why did they hire you? What was the result? What happened before, what happened after, right? Show them the journey in that process. These are indoctrination pieces, right? You want to use indoctrination as part of what you do, okay? So these are a lot of this is mindset that I'm talking about. A lot of this is mindset. I'm going to get to how you get to the big clients in just a second, right? But it all starts with, so I'll give you an example, and this is what happened to me. I didn't set out to, in my head, I wasn't really setting out to work with some of the largest financial institutions in the world. But I happened to work with a client in the finance market, in the mortgage broking market. And we did a great job. Like we added, $450 million worth of revenue to their company. They were very happy. They were really excited. And this person, my client, invited me to an event where this is all with bankers and bigger mortgage lenders and big companies were there. And we happened to be sitting at a table, and next to me was a guy called Steve, and I won't name the surname, but he was the president of the International Banking Groups, right? President of the International Banking Group, right? So he was the pres of all the association that represented every major bank in the world, right? So he's sitting there next to me, got to meet him. Now I'm sitting there going, we don't do any work for banks, but he said, John, what do you do? We devise strategy. I've been helping sell over here. We reposition their structure, their sales process, and we saw a massive turnaround in revenue. But I started asking questions about how's the banking association going? What's happening in your world? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the issues? What are some of the things that you see that are coming up as opportunities or changes in the world, in the market of banking? And he just answered all these questions. Wow, you're asking some really good questions. Because all he was just taking interest in what he was working on, right? And I said, at an above the line strategy, right? The industry is obviously, they've got lots of money. People know who they are. They spend billions of dollars on marketing, advertising. But ultimately, we got to look at the long play of how technology is changing the way that we communicate, right? And what do you do about that? And he says, well, I haven't really thought about that. And we actually don't really talk about that. So what do you talk about? Well, we just talk about policy and politics and all that sort of stuff. I said, yeah, but the business of banking is a ever-changing world, right? A constantly changing world, and it's one that is, full of interesting challenges, and there's lots of compliance and all that. So I said, yeah. And he said, hey, why don't you come and talk to me, right? Because I love this idea of, what we're doing from a communication development point of view in how we get our products and services out to the masses. Right. More importantly, how do we get our members to engage with our association more? That was his real problem, right? Because they joined because they just thought they had to join. You had to be part of the group. So I worked on a little project, and he hired me to work on that project. That one little conversation ended up introducing me to 27 of the largest banks in the world, where we worked on strategy in their mortgage departments and in their lending departments to develop products and campaigns into the market. Now, at that time, we didn't have a massive agency. Right? But that one little conversation of taking an interest opened the door. And that's the thing. You only need one branded client, and that opens the door to working with a bucket load of branded clients. I'm going to walk you through a strategy of how you can get into those markets. So I want to talk a little bit about the customers that have bigger budgets. That's the other thing that people ask is, John, small businesses, they can't afford it, right? And they can't. What most people do is they target small businesses because they're easy to talk to, right? Small businesses, yeah, I want some help, yeah, I want some customers, but they don't have the budget. The expectation is very high, right? A budget's very low, right? They're expecting well, but they don't know. There's an education process that has to go on at a small level, right? So just to give you perspective, a $500,000 business, right, will probably only spend 20 to 30K on marketing. That's roughly what they're going to spend, right? 20 to 30K on marketing. 500K business, right? Now, a $1 million business, right, will spend between 30 to 70K on marketing. 30 to 70K on marketing. That's a $1 million business, right? A $5 million business will spend 250K on marketing. A $10 million business will spend between 500 and 1 million on marketing. Right? So this is why the companies at the higher end with the bigger budgets, right? These guys here, too small. Too small. That's where most people target. What you want to target is companies, because these companies here, the 5 million, the 10 million, and by the way, just in the United States, and this happens in Australia, in the United States, in Australia, the governments recognize a small business as a business that generates up to $50 million. The United States government and the Australian government recognize a small business, right, that generates up to $50 million. That's a small business. Now, $50 million business, that's a significant business, right? You got some team, you got some inventory, you got assets, you're a player in the market if you're making $50 million, right? So 10 million plus, they're going to spend between 500K and $1 million plus on marketing, right? On their marketing. 5 to 10% of their budget will be marketing. And of that budget, right now, 30% goes to digital. 30% goes to digital, right? So 150K at that 10-year mark, 150K, right, to 300,000 goes to digital. Right, that's roughly where the money is. Okay, so if you're wanting to charge 6 figures, you need to look for companies in this category and up this category up. So one question is, John, how do I find companies of 5 million to 10 million plus? The easiest way to do that is get Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. I'm going to walk you through a really simple strategy. I'm going to stop sharing here for a second. I'm going to walk you through a really simple strategy. Right, really simple strategy. Go to LinkedIn, pay $95 to get Sales Navigator, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go and search. So what you want to find is a decision maker first. Number one is a decision maker. Managing director, founder, owner, principal, president, CEO. You're looking for the decision maker title. That's number one. The second thing that you're looking for is obviously the location. Where are these companies located? Pick large cities, right? Pick large cities or states with large populations, right? Wherever you are. The next thing you want to select is the niche. What type of business are you looking for, right? What type of business are you looking for? So in LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, this is what you need. This is how you can identify companies very quickly, right? So you can go to LinkedIn. So then the other thing is there's a word, right? There's a number, and it says 10 or more employees or 50 plus employees. What you want to select and search is 50 plus employees, right? Because 50 plus employees means that you're spending about $3 million on salaries. 50 plus employees means that your company's got to be doing at least $8 to $15 million, $8 to $15 million in revenue, right? 50 plus employees. That is the designator. Now, companies that are doing that level of revenue, right? $5 million companies, they have to market. $10 million companies, they have to market. They didn't become $10 million companies without marketing, without spending money on advertising, promotion, and marketing somewhere, right? They spent money, and that's the other precursor, is where are they spending money? Are they spending money on above line marketing, TV, radio, mainstream media? Are they spending money on Facebook ads, Google ads, right? You can use software like SpyFu, iSpionage, find out how much money they're spending online on ad campaigns. So you can even see how much they're investing in their marketing, right? But it's really easy to find companies, right? Really easy to find companies to do that. So let's do a little bit of a recap, right? So you're looking for companies with budgets. If you want 5 figures, 6 figures, then companies at that 3, 5, 10 plus mark, that's where they start being okay at paying those kinds of numbers to you in terms of revenue. The other thing you want to take into consideration is a lot of these people will not go into a recurring revenue agreement with you. They'll actually pay up front. They won't do recurring revenue, right? Recurring payments, right? So this is an opportunity where you can actually ask for the money up front, right? This is the opportunity for you where you can ask the money up front, right? So that's really important. So easy to find them. If you go to A to Z Guide, if you live in the United States, there's a library system. If you have a library card, you can hop online for free in the library system. You can go to the A to Z business guide or the A to Z guide, and you can actually pull out companies $5 million plus, and it'll give you a whole list of companies at $5 million plus. You can even designate a niche in those searches, and it'll pull out all the niches for you as well. There's plenty of places you can find companies of $5 million plus. My favorite, most visible list is the Inc. 5000 fastest growing list. If you look at the Inc. 5000 fastest growing, which is published online, right, the INC Inc. magazine, the fastest growing 5,000 businesses in the United States and the fastest 5,000 businesses in Europe. You can look at both lists. Now, in there, you can literally go. These companies are average growth rate of 300% over a 3 to 5 year period. Average growth rate of 300%, 3 to 5 year period. You can actually, in advanced search, select companies 5 million plus. Now, right now, I did that search just recently, and there are over 1,250 companies in the current 5,000 list at 5 million plus, right? That's 1,250 companies. That's a lot of leads, right? I've had many people I work with use that list to go and generate their first clients by targeting clients who have bigger budgets, right? Really simple strategy. So the key factor here is it's not hard to find those companies. The second thing is you don't need a massive list. If I look at people who do really well at acquiring bigger clients, you don't need to spend a lot. You don't need a massive list to do that. You only need 25 to 50 people on a list. That's it, 25 to 50 people. And what you want to do is what we call account-based marketing, ABM, account-based marketing. When you're doing account-based marketing, right, what you're doing is you're building a relationship. You're getting to know the business. You're getting to know the market. You're getting to know the competition. You're getting to know what some of their issues, the challenges. You're getting to know how they acquire customers. You're getting to know how much a customer is worth to them, right? You're getting to know the important bits. How do they do business? How do they do business? How do they acquire customers? How do they manage customers? What is the average sale of the product or category that they provide in the market? You're learning. You need to know these things. If you want to sell high ticket, high value, you need to understand the revenue models of the business. You need to understand how they acquire customers. You need to understand the sales cycle, how long it takes somebody to buy the product. You need to understand how much somebody's going to spend on the product. Now, 80%, or I would say, I would even go as close to 90% of all this research, you can just get online. 90% of what I've just shared with you, in terms of the questions, you can literally just Google, right? So for example, if I was targeting architectural firms that were doing 5 million plus, right? All I would have to search is how much do architects charge for their services, right? And it's pretty simple. You can Google that. It's a hidden website that you can seem to find. And I'll tell you exactly how much architects get paid. Architects get paid 5% of the value of the building they design. So if they're designing $1 million building, they get $50,000. Right? If they're designing a $10 million building, right, they're making $500,000, right? So, so the average sale, depending on the value of the building, right, it says it in plain English. This is roughly what they do. This is what they charge. This is what the average hourly rate of an architect is. This is roughly what project is. All of that searchable. So you know how much they charge. You know what their client value is worth just by doing Google search. You can Google search any business and say, how much do people pay for this thing, right? If you want to work with bigger clients, the other criteria that I would be looking at is value, the value of the product or of the category that they serve. I would rather target a product category that's over $3,000. If the average sale, well, $2,000 probably be okay as well. Anything around $2,000, right, and up, right, then you're going to have a dramatic impact if you dial in your marketing, right? You'll have a much more dramatic impact if you dial in your marketing at targeting clients who have higher ticket sales items. Because the sales, like I think yesterday I talked about, the day before I talked about a company called Walling, who have these $4 million pairs of speakers, right? They sell about 100 pairs a year. That's $500 million worth of speakers a year, right? They don't need to sell a lot of speakers to get a return on investment on their marketing, right? In terms of what they do. So high value items If you're targeting companies, I always look at around $2,000 to be the very low mark of the high value ticket. Preferably in that sweet spot, 10,000 would be a pretty nice sweet spot. Think of all the businesses that sell products and services at 10 grand. So for example, if you look at the accounting market, the average business, every business that's a $1 million client to an accounting firm roughly spends about $10,000 to $15,000 a year on their accounting fees. So if you're targeting accounting firms, say, hey, if we can introduce clients that are $1 million run rate, they're investing between $10,000 and $15,000 a year in your marketing services, and the average client stays for 10 years, that's $150,000 out of every client that we can actually work with. Are you interested in working on a strategy to bring in more clients at a value of $150,000? Because every 10 clients, that's a $1.5 million book that you add to your accounting practice. Is that something that might be useful to you, Mr. Accountant or accountant firm, right? Think about, a lot of people go after this market, the roofers, because the average sales around the 15 to 16 grand mark or up to 20 grand. That's a very popular market, right? They pay up to $800 to get an appointment off Home Advisor. So the average roofer is spending up to $800 to get an appointment off Home Advisor. That's not to get a lead, because they get lots of leads off Home Advisor. But by the time they work it out, for them to have an appointment, that's not a guaranteed sale, by the way. Their average conversion rates are sitting around the 20% mark. So that $800 quickly turns into $4,000 acquisition cost of Home Advisor. So you can spend $4,000 to sell one roof, just off one channel, Home Advisor, one channel, right? So think about the acquisition, right? How much a company is willing to pay to buy a customer. This will also anchor the price of, like, for example, I'll give you a classic example. I was sitting down with a company and they do solar. They have these packages at 30 grand, right? So I sat down with the company and said, how much are you willing to spend of that $30,000 to acquire a customer who's going to invest that 30 grand? And the guy said to me, we would probably pay $5 grand to acquire that customer. So you're telling me that you would invest $50,000 to acquire $300,000 worth of customers, right? And he looked at me and said, absolutely, great. I want you to hold on to that figure, right? $50,000 just for 10 customers. So for 20 customers, $100,000. For 30 customers, $150,000, right? So the budget starts to get up there. A lot of businesses don't realize, and this is the number that you want to get to in business, is to find out what the acquisition cost is. If you can find out what the acquisition cost is, that's a game changer. That's a license to print money. One of the reasons I'm investing in the marketing services that I'm investing in is to actually, the first part of that process is to find out what the acquisition costs so we can go and scale the investment in marketing, right? To leverage that. You know? And what you're looking at is the 1 in 3 return on gross profit. That's the number where the client is going to be okay, right? 1 in 3 on gross profit. I'm getting into some technical stuff here, but if you look it up, right? So for example, if that $300,000, right? Let's say of the $300,000, $100,000 would be the gross profit. That company would be willing to spend $30,000 of that GP to acquire that $300,000 worth of clients, right? So 10% of the total revenue, but 30% of the gross profit. That is a fair deal for a company. When you have that conversation, those companies understand, they will say yes. They will easily say yes to those sorts of people, right? So number one, you've got to understand the market. What most people do is they don't do their homework. If you don't do your homework, you're going to come off looking a bit silly, unprofessional, not somebody that people want to hire to work with, right? So understand, number one, you need to understand the market intimately. You need to understand their problem. And the best way to do that is to actually talk to the market, right? So as a strategy, if I was going to go after high ticket clients, one, I want to talk to 6 people in the marketplace. So I want to talk to industry leaders in the market, iconic business people in the market. I want to talk to bigger players in the market, people who run the big businesses because they've been there the longest, right? They've been in the industry for the longest. They've been running big businesses, so they know more than most people in the market. I want to talk to somebody who consults the market. That's another person I want to speak to. Somebody who's written a book and done research on the market. Somebody that is actually talking about the future of the market. Somebody who is in leadership in the market. Most leadership in the market, they tend to come from the industry. So, for example, most state-based association presidents of industry groups, tend to run a business. They tend to have run a business for 10, 20 or 30 years, and they've taken on an honorary position within the industry to give back, right? So I want to talk to half a dozen of these people, 6 people. And the reason why I want to talk to half a dozen of these people is those 6 people, 1 or 2 of those 6 people will become a client. 1 or 2 of those people will become a client. The second thing is, of those 6 people, I'm going to pick up about 18 recommended referrals. I'm going to pick up 18 recommended referrals out of those 6 people, right? Now, I know this works because we recently implemented in a strategy, and that strategy ended up generating more than 1.2 million in revenue in less than 5 months. So I know this works, right? So number one in this process, if we're identifying the market to go after, and we've given you some predicators, like, you know, we're targeting businesses 5 million plus, they've got a marketing budget, marketing revenue. We're targeting businesses that have a sizable number of employees, because that means that they've got assets and costs and IP and those sorts of things. We're targeting business with a high ticket value, 3,000 plus. Right, these are all the predicators. Now we want to find or pick a niche, right? We want to pick a niche. The easiest way to pick a niche. So there's this thing called associations. Most professional governing bodies in the world that represent an industry have a lobby group, a registered association. Some associations are responsible for licensing and accreditation, things like the CPA, the Chartered Practicing Accountants Association, or the Chartered Accountants Association. These give people a license designation and a legal compliance to practice accounting in the real world, right? You look at the doctors, right? Plastic surgeons. There is the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. There's the Australian Society of Plastic Surgeons. You can find 7,000 plastic surgeon members on the Society of American Plastic Surgeons website. It gives you the name, phone number, location, what their specialization is in plastic surgery. That association accredits and licenses plastic surgeons, right? The AMA, the Law Society, the Bar Association in America, the Stock Exchange, any association, every association is a lobbying group, right, to the government for their industry. Farmers, agriculture, and in some categories in the health market, there's like 1,000 different associations just in the health market, right? But they represent billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of trade. To me, the 2 biggest, easiest ways to go and get revenue and grow and scale is to deal with associations and deal with channel partners, people who service the market at scale, right? Those are the 2 areas. You don't need to spend any money advertising. Just build relationships at that level. You will have all the money you want to print for the rest of your life, right? Because you'll be actually recognized as an authority within a market, within those communications, with those channels. So to me, I'm looking for 6 people, right? An association president, an iconic business person, right? Somebody who's an icon, somebody in the industry recognizes them as they are the best at what they do in the market. An author, a consultant, an influencer, a channel partner, somebody supplies the industry, has been supplying the industry for years, been around for years. I'm looking for people with tenure, right? The reason why is these people know more than anybody else what's going on in their market. They know how legislation is impacting the market. They know how the future is impacting on the market. They know what decisions are being made. So the reason why I want to talk to these people is purely to understand. And the second part of that is I want to work with them. I want to find a way in that communication, in that interviewing or asking questions and getting feedback. I want to actually look at the door of where perhaps we can collaborate or I can work with them, right? Because if you can do that, then you turn them into a case study and you're dealing with people who are at the iconic level that can influence and introduce you to a whole bunch of other people. And when you talk to these people and you find out, some people are already probably thinking, how do I approach these people, John? Why would they want to talk to me? Why would the president of the International Bankers Association want to talk to me about Facebook advertising, right? They wouldn't, right? They wouldn't. But as a person who's taking an interest in the market, you're trying to improve, innovate, look at better ways of getting better results for your clients. And so one of the ways that makes you attractive is you are trying to innovate right? Trying to figure out and improve outcomes in the market. So you can approach those people and say, listen, the reason I'm reaching out to you is I know you've been in the market, you know what you're doing, you've done some pretty extraordinary things. I'm reaching out to you because what I'm trying to do is innovate, improve, and get better results for an area in this market. And the best way I can do that is to talk to people to get the answers from the horse's mouth of people who've got experience such as yourself. Now, one thing I do know when you reach out to people like this, these people want to give back. People have been in an industry or tenure, they want to give back. So they're either going to do one or two things. They're going to reply and say, send me some questions, I'm happy to answer them, or I'll have somebody answer them for you. Or they're going to say, yes, let's sit down, we're going to have a chat. They're going to open the door to a conversation with you if you approach it in this way professionally, right? So you only need 6 conversations. Now, here's where the referrals come in, right? What you want to do is once you've spoken to these iconic people or one of these association presidents, right? What you want to do is say, listen, this is really good because this is your perspective. But from the people you know, the people you respect in the market, who do you think I should be connecting with or talking to, right? Who do you think I should be connecting with or talking to? And they're going to name 3 names. They're going to go, this person, this person, this person, right? They'll give you an average of 3 names. And then you can say, look, do you mind if I just reach out, introduce myself the same way, and just let them know that I've had a conversation with you? Is that okay with you? They're going to go, sure. In fact, some of them offer to connect you directly with them, right? So now you've got referrals. You've just had a conversation with an icon or somebody who's a standing leader in a marketplace or somebody who's running a significant business where the person they're directing you to is somebody they know. It's a direct referral. You say, hey, look, I spoke to Bob the other day, something we covered. He recommended I actually talk to you. Is it okay if we make some time? And this is what we're talking about, right? And in this conversation, all you're doing is asking questions to get them to know. Ask them how it works, what are the challenges. Ask them, if we gave you a magic wand to improve your ability to dominate or grow or scale in the market, what would you do with that wand, right? They'll give you all the answers of the things, but what you're going to find in those conversations is you're going to find all the problems, right? Now, when you find the problems and you start hearing the same thing, you can ask this question: what would happen? What would be the impact if we solve that problem? Well, if you solve the problem, we'd be awesome, right? Well, is it okay if I go away and perhaps with what we do, we might be able to solve that for you and show you what that might look like? And they'll go, yes, that would be awesome, right? Great, I'm going to go away, show you what it looks like, right? And oftentimes you'll find that with that process, you'll land a client. The focus or the strategy I've shared with you is to have a friend, you have to be a friend first. Take an interest, build a relationship. They're going to ask you what you do. They're going to ask you why you're doing this. Why you're doing this is you want to be the best in the market. You want to provide the best service. You want to provide something that actually gets relevancy, that actually makes a difference, that has an impact on the innovation of what you're delivering, right? To improve the circumstances of the industry. That's what you're doing this for, right? They're interested in that. They're interested in that process. So it's not difficult to go and get big clients or big companies to actually work with you. Now, the question is, why would a company choose to work with me if I'm an independent contractor? When I started my consulting business, when I first came out of the gate, there was just me. There was just me, right? And so I knew that money was in the big clients. I knew that that's where the cash was. So I would approach those companies and talk to those companies and understand what their problems were and understand what they needed fixing and say, hey, what if I came and fix it for you? What if we worked together to collaborate to build this? And it was building that relationship, right? My first client came from a referral of a referral, a friend of a friend, right? Somebody referred to me and that person said, it's not me, you need to go and speak to this person. And they became my first client 33 years ago. And I never looked back since, yeah? So it's not hard to actually talk to people. It's not hard to engage people, and it's not hard to add value with listening and understanding and then feeding back to them what you've learned, right? When I've taken this strategy on, I've literally gone back to the market and said, listen, I spoke to this person, this is what they said. Every single person that I go back to the market with is interested in what they had to say, is interested in what we learned, right? And is interested in taking the next step to solving a problem. It's one of the easiest ways that you can go out there in the market and generate high 5, high 6-figure customers. So number one, you want to make sure that you're offering something at a high value. If you're not offering it, they can't buy it. Number two, you want to be targeting businesses that can actually afford, actually spend, or don't think the amount you're charging is a really big deal, right? They'll actually either pay you up front for it, or they'll pay you in short installments. But when you offer a $50,000 or $100,000 deal, they don't think twice about it. They're going to actually ask for it. They'll be happy to pay it, right? So the minimum client that you want to generate revenue from is about 25K. That's the minimum. From any customer, from a profitable point of view, you want to be getting about minimum $25,000 from a client, right? I actually probably would put that a bit higher. I'd probably say that 35 grand would probably be more accurate. But if you're getting 35 grand of a client, you can actually make a decent profit out of that. Right? Anything under that, then you're going to be looking at how your margins and your costs to minimize the impact of the rate of revenue return that you generate from that, right? So that's not a lot. 5 clients, 150,000, right? 10 clients, $300,000, $300,000 out of 10 clients, right? It's not a lot. Well, it's actually more. It's $360,000 out of 10 clients, right? So understand that you control the price. And they can't buy it if you don't offer it. That's important. Number 2, right, you want to target businesses that actually can handle that type of investment. In fact, they would take that type of investment and seriously consider it because they can see the value in it, right? If you went to, say, for example, if I went to BMW and said, hey, I could build your website for $50,000, they would laugh at me because I know that BMW spent $27 million building that website. That website can build 150 versions of the 37 cars in their range on that website. You can customize it on the website, right? It connects you with every major BMW supplier in the world. That's not a $50,000 website. That's a $27 million website, right? That generates billions of dollars in car sales every year for its dealers around the world, right? So I'd be pretty stupid going to BMW saying, hey, let's do a website for 35 grand. No, there would be a strategy first. There'd be an assessment, an audit, a process, branding, messaging, styling. They would probably spend $250,000 or more just for that conversation. Then there's going to be the next stage is the actual brief. They'll probably spend another $250,000 designing the brief for the actual project or more, probably maybe even $1 million on the brief. Then there's the team that's going to come together and build it out. The coders, the developers, they're going to make it robust. They're going to communicate in multiple languages. That's not a $35,000 website, right? So if I went to somebody like that, I need to know what their process is. And that's the other thing that I want to finish up here before I start asking questions. You need to know how they buy. One of the questions I often ask people is, how do you buy? My apologies. That's Siri there. Siri's apologizing. One of the things that I ask people is, how do you buy services like us, right? What process do you go through to buy us? And I'll tell you, this is what we do. This is the process we go through to hire you, right? To work with us, right? That's what they do, yeah? So understand that if I know what the buyer's journey is, I can tailor my strategy to how they buy. And that speeds up the process of them buying. One of the easiest things to do is ask them, how do you make a decision when you're hiring strategists or consultants or experts or agencies? How do you do that? Well, this is the process we go through to make that decision. And they literally map out your sales process for you, because all you're going to do is just tick the boxes and you're hired, right? So with that, lots of information. Hopefully I've shown you where you can find them. I've shown you how to engage them. I've even given you a script and a process, a whole bunch of stuff on how to get clients. Love to know your feedback. If you've got any comments or if there's a takeaway, please type the takeaway in the chat here for those who are joining me here. I really appreciate you hanging out with us. There's a whole bunch of faces here, some familiar ones and some new faces. But takeaways, just type in the Zoom chat or in your chat. What are some of the takeaways that you've had from what you've learned in this process? The LinkedIn Sales Navigator tips were great. Thank you. Yes, very easy to identify people in LinkedIn. I don't like engaging people in LinkedIn. I actually extract people from LinkedIn and engage them outside. Much easier. Much easier. Yeah. Faster too. Takeaway, they can't pay you more if you don't provide a high price. Absolutely, Coffee. It's almost impossible for them to pay you money if you don't offer it. Impossible, right? And that's what you want to do. There are, like, I work with people where the offer that they're making is 100,000 plus is the basic offer. That's their poverty pack, right? But to craft that offer, right, you need to understand what you're delivering to the market at that level and that revenue. Associations and channel partners as an evergreen lead source. Absolutely, Christopher. Absolutely. Associations and channel partners are brilliant for generating revenue. Any other takeaways? Any other takeaways? Courtney says targeting associations. Question, should I ask the client how people buy from them, or should I ask the best client on how they bought from? You can do both, Mark. For me, I'm always asking what's the client's journey, what's the buyer's journey, right? You know, that's one of the things that I want to know. If I can understand what the buyer's journey is, then I can map out. And the best way to do that is interview their top customers. Interview their six best customers. That will give you how they bought the journey, how they went through the journey. It's a process called Lean Stack. If you go to LEANSTACK, leanstack.com, use the framework there to do a Lean Stack interview with how they buy. And that's gold, because that gives you marketing material, that gives you the decision-making process, that gives you what the triggers were, that gives you timing, money, everything. That gives you everything. It's one of the most incredible things to understand how somebody buys in a market. Christine says Inc. 5000. Yes, that's a great one. Mike says reaching out to several in a firm. The account-based marketing strategy works brilliantly, absolutely, and it's very quick. If a strategy average 5K, what would be a good price point for website audits before? That's $5,000 to $10,000, Lloyd. $5,000 to $10,000 to do a map out of a website. Absolutely, right? Yes, Adam, leanstack.com, leanstack.com. Yeah. So $5,000 to $10,000, absolutely. Any questions? If you've got questions, I'm happy to answer. If you've got a question here, I'm happy to answer the questions.
John, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just get the volume up here so I can hear you. Who's that?
Hey, John, it's Adam.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Good, man, good. And so I tried your strategy today. Thank you so much. I went after, I normally go after like individual brokers, but I went after a couple brokerages today. And one of the people, she loved my call. I followed your disqualifier call to the T, gave her the pricing up front. We finished the call. She basically said she didn't book the demo. She said, I want to speak with operations because I told her I need to have all the people on this strategy demo, right? I said, I need to have all the decisions. She said, okay, let me speak to operations. And then basically, so I said, okay, I'll send you an email and we'll confirm. So the email I basically sent was, hey, it was great chatting. Here's the price, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I can't, you know, I don't want to do the demo until all the strategy makers are there, et cetera, et cetera. They said, thank you so much. We will reach out if we have further questions. I emailed back saying, you know, okay, great. If we don't hear back by the end of next week, we'll be taking you off our list. She said, thank you so much. And that's how the conversation ended over email.
Okay. You need to eliminate those last two emails because you shot yourself in the foot before you even started, right? So we need to go back. We need to go back a couple of steps.
Yeah.
You are not in a position to negate. You're at the beginning of the relationship to say, hey, if I didn't hear back from you, we're going to remove you from our list. No, don't do that to people. That you don't need to do that. You don't need to say that. That there's a level of arrogance in that, Adam, that people just don't need, right? Are you telling me that if they don't decide to work with you now, you won't work with them in 3 months' time or 6 months' time?
Well, the idea was, well, this is just to see the demo. And so what I was thinking like, listen, like if you're interested on the call, I had some things they have never seen before. She seemed interested. Yeah. My figure is that basically if she says, I'll reach out, you know, if I don't hear from her by the end of the next week, it's not happening anyways. So I figured to say, hey, if we don't hear back, you know, it's just to do the demo. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Adam, she's not going to get back to you.
Okay.
And here's why, because you told her she didn't need to get back to you. And you also you went with the pricing thing. It's not about the price, right? The second email would have been all you're asking to qualify the price is you're qualifying the price of whether or not they can handle it. That is not the price you're going to quote them for the service you provide. You're just going to say, hey, most people when they work with us, they need to have a budget of about this amount of money per month. Is that something you can handle? And they'll go, yes. And then you don't need to reiterate that in the email. All you have to do in the email is say, look, the next logical step is that we do the demo. Right? Okay. Everything you had to do was just sell the demo, not sell the price, not sell the let's work together, not sell. All you had to do was just sell the demonstration. Why do I need to be on the demo? What am I going to get out of this demo? What are the outcomes that I'm looking for? What's my worst case, my best case? This is what happens when other people do the demo. Here's, if this is something that might be of interest to you or might be useful to you, let's get on the demo. All your communication, Adam, because you've got a client here that has a propensity to invest a higher level.
Yeah.
All your communication is about getting on the demo, nothing else.
I know.
Right? So everything in your body needs to scream, hey, this is how we help you. Let me walk you through how we help you to get the best possible outcomes out of what we've been discussing. The easiest way to do that is that we have a process and we map this out for you and we show you in that process, and you're able to align. Oftentimes when we sit down and take people through the process, we can show them how they can generate hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars with revenue. Is that something that might be useful to you, Adam? Yeah. The next step in the process, I'm going to reach out to you and make time with you. I have Wednesday at 2 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Of these two times, which would suit you best? Right? That's what the second email needed to be. Not, hey, here's a thing, here's a price, because she's got no context. She hasn't seen the demonstration. Right?
I know.
So there's no context in that conversation. And the last email, there's no way in the world I would ever send that last email, ever. I'd be sitting and saying, if I didn't hear back from you, that's like saying, please ghost me, right? You just told her to go away. You just told her to go away, right? You literally told her to piss off by doing that, right? You don't need to do that, right? Great reaching out, great using the script, but the tail end of that is the next logical step is we get on the demonstration. That's all you need to focus on, nothing else. Right? So why do I need to be on the demo? Why is it important? What am I going to get out of this? What am I going to see? What is the value in this demonstration? Right? What's the impact of that? This is what we say. You're selling the value of the demo, of what they're going to see. You're going to see a plan, a structure, objective, resolve, outcome for your process. If we can do that, then the next step is we can show you how we can work together. Are you cool with that? Yes. So what you're doing is you try to get married too quick.
Yeah, because in the first email, I'm even saying, I'm reading it back, I'm confident we can stop you from losing another deal and ensure no opportunities are generated. Like I'm already, it's way too many steps. I'm way ahead. Yeah. So you just got to say, sucks. Yeah. It was a good call.
Yeah. But your communication now. So think about the call, right? And I really appreciate you sharing with me, because I know that you're in one of my programs. But this is the thing, Adam. I want to take this, sort of break this up a little bit, right? So think about it. You had a great call, right? And now they get this email that says, if I don't hear back from you, move on. I'll take you off my list. So you have this great rapport relationship, and then all of a sudden they get this email and they go, that's not the guy I spoke to, right? Yeah. So you've just created a disconnect in how the call went. Like your communication would have been, hey, this is what we learned on the call. This is an awesome call, blah, blah. I really want to help you guys. Probably the best thing I can do is to provide you with a plan that shows you these key things. We've done this with many people. They love it. This is a way that I think that we probably add the most value, is to give that process understanding to move forward. Is it okay if we make a time? I've got a time on Tuesday or Wednesday, which suits you best, right? Now, if I don't hear back, you say, hey, again, you're selling the plan. You're not going to say, hey, okay, those times don't suit. You go back selling the plan. Say, hey, look, I hadn't heard back from you. I know we had a really great conversation. I know at the end of the day, everybody wants to improve. Everybody wants to grow. And look, our goal is to help people. Here's a framework that we use, or here's something that might help you to give you a better context of what we're talking about. And then you go back and you sell the demo again. You might have to sell the demo because they've got an operations person right now, right? You might have to sell the demo 3 or 4 times before you get on that demo, right?
Yeah.
Now, Adam, what is the client? If the client said yes, what's the client worth to you?
I told them the package anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 a month.
Okay, so the client's going to be worth between $18,000 and $24,000 for a year. 18 grand to 24 grand. So I'm going to ask this question: worth sending 3 or 4 emails, making 2 or 3 phone calls to pick up 18,000, 24,000?
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah. And that's what you got to think about here. You've got somebody who was interested. You went out, you did an awesome thing. You went out and just took action, got the call, had a great call. You booked 2 appointments right straight away. That's fantastic. You can do that again. You can replicate exactly what you did yesterday and do it tomorrow, right? Do it exactly the same way, right? And so what I would recommend that you do, or what I would encourage you to do, is to make sure, right, that is given the next logical step. Why is it important for them to take the next logical step? And that's it, right?
Okay.
We don't want to get married. We just want to take them to that step. Once we've got that step, right, then you've asked all the questions, you've got the objective, you've got the reason why and all that sort of stuff in that process. Then you go, great. Is it okay if I show you how we work together? Yeah? Because you're not asking for a lot of money, dude. For starters, I would double all those prices. You're not asking for a lot of money. Yeah. So at that marker, it should be, if it's based on price, it should be a really easy sale if it's based on price. But if it's based on value, the pricing should be higher.
Do you think this is revivable with this person? Even their last, they even said to me, "Thanks so much!" Exclamation mark. After I said, "If I don't hear back, we'll take you off the list." They said, "Thanks so much!" Exclamation mark.
Yeah, she's basically told you to go jump in the lake.
Okay, no way to revive, eh? No way to revive.
Well. I think what I would do is I would ignore your last email, and I would sit there and say, "Hey, like you can say, hey, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I really had a great conversation with you, and I really appreciate that conversation. Look, the reason I reached out to you is because we help people like you do this. If that's something that will be useful to you, the next step in the process is for us to take you through this process. If that's something of interest, just reply yes, and I can give you a couple of options for some times where we can get together. I really want to add value. I really appreciate the fact that you gave that time. But I just, I like what you guys do, and I think you guys are a great business, and I'd love to be able to perhaps explore the idea of how we can add value or help you to scale or grow. That's what I would do. Yeah. Okay.
When do you think I should?
So yeah, you can't slam dunk people like that, man. You've literally slapped her in the face.
Oh God, true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, you went from a really nice conversation to, if you don't do this, we'll just take you off our list. I mean, come on, man.
I know.
Think about read the email that you sent her. Somebody sent you that email after one phone call. What would you do?
Oh man, I mean, I put an exclamation mark in but apart from that, no, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It's not good.
You would respond probably the same way that she did. So I would the only way I would repair it is go back to the conversation and say, hey, I just want to touch base. This is what it was about. I'm interested in the next step. Just get the interest, right? Yeah, that's all I would do. That's what I would do. Okay, so thank you for sharing, man. I really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you because the other day when we talked, you said, don't send out proposals, you'll get ghosted, So yeah. I had those 8 leads from that webinar I did 10 days ago. Mm-hmm. I emailed them all. I said, I'd like to follow up with you and walk you through some ideas. Mm-hmm. So I put together a deck. And so I got 6 of them replied back, said, yep, let's set up an appointment.
That's awesome.
One of them I did today was a law firm, and he committed to the package. So I was very psyched.
He did. You closed the deal.
Yeah, and I know I'll get another law firm tomorrow. So thank you.
That's awesome, man. Do you mind sharing how much the deal was for?
It'll be about 24 for the year. 24 for the year.
That's nice, man. That's awesome. So normally what you would do is you would send a proposal, and you end up with waiting for the feedback and getting ghosted. Now you went, no proposal. Let's sit down and have a chat. Let me walk you through what you need to do. Yeah. And then is that something you want to go ahead with? And you sold a 24K deal doing it that way.
Yeah. And you made me think
awesome,
through.
Man.
You made me think through walking through the process of what the goal, going for the goal, and what our whole process is, getting them excited about the end result. So by the time I got to the bottom where it showed 3 different options. And then I shifted them over to another screen of an estimate I prepared in Square. And they said, yeah, this looks good. I just don't need that. I said, okay, I'm going to send this back to you. You'll have 2 estimates to compare against each other. So that's what he's signing off on.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Well done on closing the deal. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got 5 more to go, yeah?
5 more, yeah.
Yeah.
At least.
I would imagine
I told you I've got this opt-in list of 2,000 people. I mean, they're all small businesses.
Oh, man.
Who knows?
Yeah, but 24K. I mean, that's for small businesses, a 24K investment is not a big deal, right? Bigger businesses, you could charge more. Like you for what you do or what you're offering, you could probably double the price. You could probably take it from $2,000 a month to $4,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
Or even higher. You could probably do the same thing for $6,000 a month, right? In most industries, Mike, what you'll find, there is a ceiling for marketing. There is a ceiling that people are willing to pay. So I'll give you an example of what some of the ceilings are, just to give you perspective. In the law market, the ceiling sits around that $3,000 to $5,000. That's the ceiling. The average law firm sees digital marketing and they'll invest $3,000 to $5,000 is about the average. That's at the low level. That's like for Facebook ads, personal injury, that sort of stuff. There's no biggie. They will pay a lot more for strategy. They'll pay a lot more if there's a strategy and a process or an integration of a systems development for lead gen for their business. They'll invest more money at a higher level, right? But the average, and now dental market, same thing. Dental market, $3,000 to $5,000. And the reason why is because the market has had a dissemination of information where people are pricing services at this level. So what happens is people say, oh, well, yeah, your Facebook guy should be charging you $1,500 a month. Where did that figure come from, right? You know, who says that's the figure? Because I know agencies where to work with them, like Kevin, one of the guys that I work with, he charges $20,000 a month, and that's for chit chat. There's no implementation for $20,000 a month. It's all strategy, right? And his clients pay him, and they for the first 3 months, they don't run a single ad in the first 3 months. The client's in for $60,000 before they run a single ad, right? But they know they've got dialed in, and their clients love them. They get amazing results. They make millions and millions of dollars for their clients, right? So there is a ceiling of price points. At that $1,500 to $2,000 a month, that's the low ceiling for small businesses. I would take the $1,500 up to $2,900, and I'd take my $3,000 price up to $5,000 to $4,900. And I'll guarantee you, people will say yes to that. People will say yes, and it will work even better, Mike, if you ask for all the money up front. Give them an option to pay up front. Say, listen, to take care of this, to get this done. $24,000. If you pay us $22,000 up front, save $2,000, you got a deal, right? So pay $22,000 up front.
Yeah.
That way you got the money in your bank account.
Yeah. The only other challenge is, when I advise a paid advertising strategy and I recommend a budget, that's cutting into that ceiling, and kind of reduces the amount of fee that I can.
You package it in. You package the budget. There's two ways of doing it. One, people separate the budget, or the other way they package it in. I've worked both ways. It works both ways, right? But for example, Mike, if I was going to a solar company, there's no way in the world I'd be sitting there saying $3,000 a month plus $1,500 for advertising, right? Because I know that they're going to give me, for me to get a result for them, they've got to give me $15,000 for advertising. They're still going to pay me the $3,000 a month for the management fee. They're going to pay me they're going to cough over $15,000 for the ad spend. Actually, make the ads work, right? Solar panels, solar business, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're paying $70 to $80 a click in a hot market, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you've got let's say you've got a dialed-in lead magnet that has a 20% conversion rate, right? That means to get an opt-in, right? To just get an opt-in, you're going to pay $340 for an opt-in, right? You're actually going to pay about $1,500 for an appointment. Mm-hmm. One appointment, $1,500, right? Now, if your conversion rate is 20%, you need to spend $15,000 to make. You got to spend $15,000 to make 2 deals, right? Yeah. So for every 10 appointments, you're going to pay $15,000 for appointments, and then you're going to make 1 deal or 2 deals out of that. So your average sale is $30,000, right? So you're going to break even on $15,000 on advertising. You're going to break even. Yeah. Right. So depending on the market, Mike, the budget has to be more. And this is the other thing: is you set the budget. The client doesn't set the budget, right? You make you say, listen, we recommend you do this. Like the company that I'm working with said, John, this is what we recommend you start with. This is your budget, your starting budget. Right, $10,000 a month, and then next month it's going to be 15. The month after that it's going to be 20, and the month after that's going to be 30, and the month after that's going to be 40, and we're going to get up to 100K within 3 or 4 months, right? You know, but they're telling me, John, this is what you need to do.
Right. That's, you don't want
right?
that.
Yeah. And so you don't want the client saying to you, oh, I can't afford that. So, well, that's not going to work. If you can't afford this, it's not going to work, right? You need to be spending enough money on campaigns. You need to understand what the cost per action is, cost per click, right? What's it cost you for a lead? How many leads does it take to get to an appointment, right? Lead ad, to me, from a Facebook, lead ads are the cheapest ads to run, but you got to work the lead ads, right? You know. So yeah, so the ceiling on that for small businesses, the ceiling is between 3 and 5 a month. Small business. So when I say small businesses, any business under $1 million, they're in their head they're going to go 3 to 5. In their head they're going to go 3 to 5. Right? Over $1 million, like you start getting into 3, 5 million, they're happy to pay more. If they see the value of it, they're happy to pay more. But you need to. So I think I mentioned this yesterday. I don't think you were here, Mike. There's a cool piece of software. It's called Geru. You don't really need Geru. You just need a conversion calculator, right? And you can get a free one online. It's pretty easy for Facebook. But if you use something like Geru, because Geru allows you to map out the funnel, so it's geru.com, and you map out the funnel, what you can do is you can put the budget in the funnel, and then you can hit the red button. It'll show you how much money you have to spend to break even, right? And how much money you have to spend to make a profit, right? So then you can demonstrate it in real time and say, hey, if your budget's $1,500 and your cost per click is $70, this campaign is going to fail. Press the button here, it's red. So to make this campaign work, so for us to work together to make this campaign work and convert, we need to up the ad spend, right? Then look at what happens with your current conversion rate. Let's make it the worst conservative. Look at that, you know, at 15 grand, you're making a profit, right? Can you handle a $15,000 ad budget? Yes or no? Yes, great, you're making money. As long as you're making money, you're good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to improve. We're going to look at ways of improving the cost per acquisition. But for now, this is what a profitable campaign looks like, right? So you can demonstrate through the numbers, say roughly this is what they're doing, right? Most people in our world deal with very small numbers. They're dealing with very small numbers, like 30. How much does it cost to get 30 leads? Well, there's 30 leads and there's 30 actual real opportunities, filtered opportunities. So to get 30 filtered opportunities, you might need 200 leads, right? Or you might need 300 leads. I did a test on a campaign that I'm running. We're paying $500 a lead. We're paying $500 a lead on a Facebook campaign, but these are filtered, right? As in they've asked, like we're highly qualified, highly filtered. Now, $500 per lead, what's that? Our acquisition cost for a client, our acquisition cost is about $2,500. So for every 5 grand we spend, we'll generate 2 sales out of that lead acquisition, right? So even though the quality is high, the conversion rate, we're being conservative, right? So for every $5,000, we're going to pick up 2 sales. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the dynamics. That's how advertising works. Right. If you start doing that to people, Mike, then people will be very much leaning in and very much being engaged.
Yeah, it's hard when they don't have any idea what their conversion numbers are because they haven't been
Ask
doing
them.
it.
You sit there and say, listen, if I put 10 people in front of you, how many people would buy? Let's be conservative. And they're going to give you a number, 1 in 10, 2 in 10. Okay, let's work that out. So you get 1,000 opportunities, you're going to make 100 sales, right? Right. You know. If you get 100 opportunities, that means you 100 opportunities, you're going to make 10 sales. So 10 by your average sale, how much money is that? You can work out the numbers very easily. It's very powerful when you do that to people. So let's work it out. Let's work your conversion. Say 20%, great. Okay, so your deal is 10 grand, right? So for every 10 clients, you make $20,000 in sales, and your opportunity cost is $80,000. Now, if we went from 2 in 10 to 3 in 10, just one more client, we've actually increased your revenue by 50%. So my question is it worth putting in a strategy to improve your sales revenue, not your conversion, just your sales revenue by 50%? Would it be worth chasing? Right? That's another 10 grand. So that's 120 over. If we just did nothing else, for every 10 deals, you made 30 instead of 20, that's another $110,000 you add per annum, $120,000 you add per annum to the business, right? Do that with 50 leads. That's $250,000 that you're not getting right now. My question, Mike, is it worth chasing that $250,000? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right. So if you pay me 25 and we go and get that $250,000, good deal? It's a good deal, right? It's hard to say no to that, right? You'd be foolish to say no to that. Because if the person said that's a bad deal, that's more than 10 to 1, dude. Right? You know,
Yeah, good return.
like if you got 5 to 1, if you got $5, if you put $1 down and 5 down every time it came back, would you be good with that? Work out on a gross profit margin of 30%. You're going to make money doing that, right? So if we went 1 to 5, are you good with that? Even if you went 1, I'd be happy with it. I'm right now in the deal that I'm doing. I'm happy with 1 to 3. I'll take $3 for every buck I spend any day of the week. I know what my costs are, right? If you can give me a 3 to 1, you're golden, right? Then I'm going to walk and, you know, then we're going to work together and work on how do we get that from 1 to 4, right? 4 to 1. How do we go to 5 to 1? What are we going to do? What adjustments we make to improve to get better results? Yeah. Because what we focus on, it becomes a reality. So, mate, congratulations. Thank you for following through and taking all the suggestions and getting the result. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you again.
So I had a question as well.
Who was that?
This is Lloyd.
Hey, Lloyd. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'd written a question in there about website auditing and strategy. So just to paint a bit of a picture, in the past, what I was doing is I was doing website audits as a loss leader, where pretty much getting the client in the door, and then they would pay for the website anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 for a website.
Nice.
But that was including strategy, which I wasn't charging for. So right now, what I'm trying to do is pivot and charge for strategy. But my question was, if I'm charging $5,000 to $10,000 for strategy, what would I charge for website auditing? Because that was my initial thing for reviewing their website.
You can use the audit to sell the strategy. You can say, hey, let's do an initial audit, right? Yeah. From there, the next step is we need to devise a plan, a walkthrough, a game plan for the strategy. You can charge for that, right? That number that I'm pulling out, Lloyd, $5,000, you have to deliver. $5,000 is definitely a significant amount of money to invest in strategy. I work with a lady called Quinn. She charges $10,000 for strategy. You have to pay for up front. Now, her average website is $150,000 to $250,000. It's not cheap, right?
Yeah.
But she positions that right very clearly. In fact, the money that they invest in the strategy comes off the development cost of the website, right? As part of the deal. But if you're doing an audit, web audit, doing a free web audit, a simple one, right, where that gives you time to have a bit of a rapport, build a conversation, provide a little bit of value. Then the next logical step is what we do is we develop a plan, implementation plan for your functional website. So the investment in that is X amount of dollars. Now, here's what that includes, right? That includes branding, messaging, design, concept, right? A few mock-ups, right? That's what we're going to do for that part. Then we're going to sit down and come to you and say, at the delivery of that, this is what's going to happen at the end of that. Hey, Tanya, how you doing? This is what's going to happen at the end of that. We're going to provide you with that blueprint, and then you're going to make a choice. You're going to build a website with us, or you can go and take this brief and you can build a website with somebody else. Now, 9 times out of 10, Lloyd, they're going to build a website with you because they spend the money with you. But I would still use that audit, just that initial free audit, to sell the $5,000 development plan.
Strategy.
From there, you can sell the $30,000 plus website from there.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? If you want to, feel free to unmute. I'm more than happy to answer your question. If you've got a question, don't be shy. I'll hang with you for a few minutes. I want to appreciate the fact you've given this time today. Hey, Mike, you got a question? Go for it, mate. Just go for it.
I was just waving good night.
Oh, were you waving good night? Okay. Keep an eye out. I've got an email for you, Mike. I've got an email for you. Okay.
I'm looking at it. Thank you. And
all right,
we'll talk tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you. So somebody else was just reaching out.
I have a quick question, unless somebody else has, because I already went.
No, you can ask as many questions you like. If the air is dead, you might as well jump on in. So you can be as selfish as you like, Adam.
Okay.
And your question is going to help other people as well. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, John. Yeah, my question is, I kind of struggle sometimes with the, like when I have these good calls, it's sometimes the subject line of the email, like I just will say like call recap and then their name. What would you do if like we had a good call? They said, yeah, I want to either send me some information or let me talk to the operations person. What do you put in that follow-up email in the subject line?
Next steps.
Next steps. Okay.
Next steps. Well, that's what you want to do, right? We just had a conversation. Here are the next steps. So they go next steps. Say, Adam, next steps. And they're going to open that email because if you've had the conversation, you're going to open the email. They're going to read it. So subject line, you're not trying to convince them to open the email. They'll open it anyway. Your email really needs to tell them what the next steps are and why those steps are really important. That's the easiest thing you can do, right? And then help them take the next step. What do you do to help them to take the next step, right? Okay. So always break it down to what is the next logical thing that you want them to do, and ask for that, right? You only ask for the next logical thing. You don't like, we don't want to get married on the first date, right?
Yeah.
So all we're doing is, well, the next step is so if we're going to do, let's say, book a demonstration or a presentation, right? The next step is the booking, not the presentation. The next step is the time. That's the next step. The presentation is the step after that, right? So what you're selling is the appointment, not the presentation. The presentation happens after the appointment. So the next step is, hey, we need to get a time together. Which time suits you best? I've got 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Which would suit you best, right? If these two times don't suit, please recommend a time, or I'll give you another couple of times, right? So then you're playing the game of just book the appointment, not let's do the presentation, let's do the presentation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. But I'm a bit confused on, so like, of course we have to book the call and sell that we also have to get, like, sometimes I have to also sell doing the demo too. So you have to do both in an email.
Yes, if you're asking, the action that you're asking for is to book an appointment.
To book the appointment, right? That's the action. That's
so you're selling the appointment. You have to sell the appointment, right?
Yeah.
You have to say, hey, this is what's going to happen in our time because this is your time is valuable, right? So you have to sell the appointment. And this is what's going to happen. But the call to action is book this time. That's the call to action, right? And then from there, we go. When you deliver the presentation, then from the presentation, the next logical step is a decision, right? And we want to, at the very beginning, we want to make sure that we're really clear about the fact that they are going to make a decision, a consideration, right? And because they might say, hey, we don't do business like that. This is what we do. We're going to go through this, ask some questions. You're going to give us the thing that we need from you. Then we're going to take the next step. And so, well, let's make that easy for you. If we answered all your questions and gave you everything you needed in this stage, can we make a decision? Yes or no? And they're going to go, yeah, well, now you've given us everything we want in that moment. So you're back in control, right?
Yeah. And what's your thought on like sometimes I'm worried about making the email too long, but like, if I have a follow-up email, like, do you do long follow-up email? Like in this one, it's going to take me a bit to be like, this is what you get out of the presentation, No,
keep it simple. Bullet point. Like, remember, people are busy, man. They want to read War and Peace.
I know. Okay.
So just get direct to the point. Hey, thank you. This was awesome. By the way, this is what you said. This is what I said. Here's what is going to happen. 1, 2, 3, right? And let's book a time. Just keep it like that. You want to make it easy, almost conversational. We just had a conversation. This is what you said to me. Just want to be clear. This is what you said. You said that you wanted to book a time. Great, we're going to book a time. Here's how you book a time. Boom, boom, boom. This is what's going to happen in that meeting, right? Looking forward to connecting and keeping this conversation going. Yeah. So that's all you got. It's not about the content in the email. It's about the context, right? Why are you sending the email? What is the purpose of this email? Now, if we're putting in way too much information because we think we just want to pile it in, the more we put in there, the more they're going to like us. No, sometimes my best emails were just yes or no.
Literally.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've gone, hey, are you interested in getting that time? Just reply yes or no to this email. They go, yep, no, boom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just be a couple of things. Don't overthink this. Think about what you need to do is you need to put yourself in their shoes. They're receiving this communication from you, right? So you need to read it through their eyes. If I was them and I got this email, are we good, right? It makes sense. It's polite. It's professional. You said what you said you were going to do. It takes the next logical step. Boom, done. You've got the right email. That email could be really short and punchy. Boom, boom, boom. I like short and punchy because people are busy. Or the other way to do this, Adam, and this is the way I like to do it, is I often will just do a video and just explain and say, hey, look, I just shot this quick video for you. I want to thank you. Again, that personal connection.
Yeah.
Face-to-face connection. Hey, just want to, this is what we covered. This is what you said you wanted. Super excited. Here's the next step. Here's the link you'll see below the video here in the email. I'll direct them to it, right? And away you go. And sometimes that's quicker than sitting there thinking about the whole email that you got to write. And then they get the email, they get the thing, and they go, oh, wow, it's engaging. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's another connection to you. It's very personal, right? It's another connection to you. It's another relationship builder, and say, hey, I've got a few options. And you could even, like in the screen, like I'm doing right now, say, well, just below this video that you've just watched, if you go in the email, just below where that video is, there is what I've got here. You can direct them to where you want them to go, right? Yeah. So oftentimes, you can use Bonjoro. I like using Loom. Loom is pretty cool. But because what it does is it embeds the image of the video, and they see that it's a video, they just click on it. And the other cool thing about Loom is you know that they've watched the video, right? So oftentimes it doesn't have to be a written thing. It could be a, hey, this is what you said. This is what we talked about. I'm interested. I would like to take, here's how we take the next step together. Our goal is to help you out. You can even use the video to indoctrinate. So, hey, here's a couple of pieces, an email, a little bit about us, what we do, who we serve, how we help people. You can direct people to those sorts of things as well. Okay? Yeah. So today we need to be the friend, more personal. I can get, sometimes I find myself being very direct. And so I have to pull back from that, right? Because I can be pragmatic, like just tell me what it is, right? So if I'm like that, that doesn't mean that people I'm communicating with are like that. So oftentimes I'll take a step back and go, okay, I need to soften this a little bit so that I can communicate in a way that is more comfortable for the person who's receiving the message. If that makes sense. Yeah. So that's for me, I think video works really well because everybody watches videos, right? So video response to email is powerful. Often, and I will do it all the time. Like I often will think about an email, think, based on what I've just read, this is what I'm thinking, and let me know what you think, and it just starts that conversation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
And one last question about the strategy. Would you actually place the pricing on your website, or they only see that?
You can. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with putting a price on your website. Okay. Oftentimes, I work with some really big agencies. Their starting prices. They'll literally say, our lower level programs start at $5,000. Our midterm programs, if you're working with us at this level, you're going to be paying us $15,000 a month. At this level, most clients we provide a value-based pricing structure at this level. So yes, you can publish. If you're publishing your price point, then there's no ambiguity, right? Like I often say to people right up front before I even go into any real presentation, even when we were doing the agency stuff, we'll sit there and say, listen, our average project is about $125,000. My question to you is, can you handle that budget? Like before we even do the demo or the presentation, are you okay to handle that? Most of our clients who work with us at the low end are investing about $125,000. Are you okay with that budget? Can you handle that? And they'll go, yeah, we can handle it. Well, great. Then we continue the conversation, right? So we're right up front. People go, oh, that's the price, right? We know where the price starts, right?
Nice.
So you can, I think these days, If you're upfront with people in that way, letting them know, then it's much easier. And one of the things that I try to do in any interaction that we have at any level of a client, I always try and tell people right up front, this is what it is, right? If that's something you can handle, that's awesome. But let me know right before we even go, because there's no point in having a conversation if you're not going to actually make the investment, right?
Gotcha.
So there's no point in having a conversation if you're not even considering the investment, right?
Yeah.
But you need to know right up front. I like to eliminate the money side right up front. Eliminate the money, because if it's about the money, that's the other thing when you're asking these sorts of questions. If it's about the money, you're having the wrong conversation. The conversation you want to be having is what's the problem we're solving here and what's it worth to you to get it fixed.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that's the conversation we want to have. So yeah. So thank you for asking that question. It's really good.
Thank you.
Mark says, hey, John, I also noticed people need help with nurturing clients. Is a market just to sell nurturing strategies? Yeah, follow-up and automation. There's a big market. It's called the Customer Relationship Management System. Companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on customer experience. One of the biggest topics of 2019, in 2019, there was this change in the psychological aspect of marketing from the point of customer experience. Now, bigger companies spend a lot of money on customer experience. Companies like Apple and Amazon and all those sorts of companies, they spend millions and millions of dollars. They have entire teams where their specialization is just to create a customer experience. In fact, Apple hires what they call brand evangelists, and their whole job is to make customers feel good about the thousands of dollars that they spend on buying Apple products. So that comes into nurturing, that comes into relationship. There are 5 core functions, Mark, of any business. The first 3 functions are lead generation, lead nurture, and sales conversion. The last 2 are delivery and retain, resell, upsell. And where most companies make the biggest money is in the retain, resell, upsell, not in the customer acquisition part. So to answer your question, yes, is there a market for nurturing? Yes, but I wouldn't call it nurturing. I would call it things like communication, indoctrination, customer service, automated sales follow-up for conversion. Those are the things that I would call those types of communications. So if it's lead nurturing, I wouldn't do lead nurturing. I would call it lead management, right? In lead management, you're going to nurture, but it's more about lead management. If I was selling, so I work with some people, in fact, I work with one of my champions right now. They work in a particular market where they're charging $10,000 a month just to do lead management using Go High Level as the lead management tool, right? So the company spends, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month on ad spend in Facebook. All those leads go straight into the lead management system. That lead management system engages the customer in real time. From there, the customer is provided with recommended next steps, provided with Q&A, voice drop, text message, maybe messenger, depending on how they've filtered themselves into that pipeline. And so then the automation of the CRM, the customer relationship management system, manages that lead to the point of getting them to a sale, right? So maybe it's not so much lead nurturing because most people don't know what that means, but lead management or lead engagement and conversion, that's probably more of what I would talk about from that point of view. Yeah. So hopefully that helps you, Mark. Any other questions? Tanya, I know you're sitting there in the background. It's always good to see your smiley face in the background. I know Christine was asking a question there somewhere. What do you use for mock-ups for websites? There's a whole bunch of things you can use for mock-ups website. You can Google them. Any other questions? I'm happy to take another question. Otherwise, I'm going to say thank you for being here. All about positioning the offer. Yes. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Mark, but like I said, you won't go wrong if you say that you're here to manage the lead management process or here to manage the client engagement right through to sales conversion, right? I know people who just sell, they're selling 5-10 grand a month just to literally manage ad leads and get them into an appointment. That's what they're doing. So yeah, that's a big business, by the way. Most agencies that are focusing on lead generation, one of the things you should be doing is filtering and managing leads in real time. Most businesses are terrible at following up leads. They're terrible at managing leads. They don't manage leads at all. They don't have a mechanism to capture. They don't have a mechanism to drive. You want those leads you want to be able to manage those leads so you can actually account for that lead and you can account for what happened to the lead, right? If you can do that, then you're gold, absolute gold, right? Because you can demonstrate to the client a very direct return on investment. So tomorrow we've got a break, but on Friday, which is my Saturday, we are doing a session on sales process. And more, when I say sales process, it's the exact sales system that I use to close deals. I teach it to people who apply. We just had Mike Corso here who applied the strategy and generated a $24,000 customer within the last 48 hours of testing the strategy. But the key here is I'm going to go a little bit more focused on a very simple process to convert in a sales process. So how you help clients buy, right? How do you make it easy for a client to buy? What structure do you take them through? It's a really simple model, but if you follow the model, it's really easy for a client to go, let's do this, right? That's the whole process. So on my Saturday, so this Friday at 5 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to go live again, and we're going to go through, which I believe is 11 a.m. my time, Brisbane on Saturday. Sydney time is midday, US time, 5 p.m. PST, Friday afternoon, all about sales and sales conversion as a strategy. So if you're interested, I would hop on, same time, same bat channel, same link, same password that you got here on. This is day 3 of our series. Yesterday, we did 13 strategic things that you do to generate revenue immediately. And I literally broke down those 13 things step by step, exactly how you go about doing that. We've had a few people out there already. Adam here got 2 appointments straight away by applying some of the strategies he picked up yesterday. The day before that, we talked about some of the key factors that actually scale you or generate better quality clients, better positioning, branding, looking at those key factors that actually build a solid, higher value business as opposed to dealing with the low end or the bottom feeders of the market. So we did all that in that training. So day 4, which is not tomorrow, but the day after, we are going to do everything that you need to do to actually help a client to jump in and say yes to what you have to offer. So thank you for being here. Appreciate all the questions. People are going, it's on the calendar. Not tomorrow. Yes, there is a meeting tomorrow, Adam. There is. Our team, for you, yes, in the actual program there is a meeting. It's happening. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate your input and your questions. Hopefully this has been useful and helpful. I'd love to get some feedback if you actually apply this and generate some results. That'd be pretty cool. But always happy to see the familiar faces here and some new friends. I'll see you same time, same bat channel on Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to go and we're going to make some sales. So with that, thank you. I'll talk to all of you soon. Take care, everybody.